It's good on you.
Let's see. You're the focal point. Let's see.
Not really, but people come here.
Wait, let
This.
me.
I'm just gonna do this.
Or just wait a second. Let me get on. Here, I'm live with you.
Okay.
Oh, you two be tripping.
YouTube be tripping.
Oh, it's good.
Oh, it's good.
Look.
Oh yeah. That's good. That's good.
Nope.
Hey, Mr. Walker. I hope life didn't treat you bad.
Huh?
He just said life happened. What was I gonna say?
Hit the like. That's right. What's up, Sammy D? Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Let me. You posting that we're live or no?
Oh, I didn't. I was just talking to the folks in the
Do your
chat
thing. Do
room.
your thing. Do your
You
thing.
need help, you
Nope.
boo.
Nope. I'm on
I
it.
got you, boo.
I'm on it like
Up,
5,000.
Sammy D. Okay.
Man,
So I'm
who's all in the hizzy? Who's out to get me?
Hey, Megan. Let's see. Hi, Grant. Hey, Durant. Hey, Nicole. Gang. Hey, Eureka. Let me hit that like too. Okay, I did already. Okay, you got 15 likes.
Oh, that's sweet.
Um.
Showing me love.
Oh my gosh, have you guys seen the Netflix special while Mr. Brando does his thing? Have y'all seen that True Story limited series with Kevin Hart and Wesley Snipes? It was so good, so unexpected. I'm not even a big Kevin Hart fan, but man, that was not about comedy. Okay.
Man,
Hey Josie.
how is everybody's Thanksgiving? What's the deal,
Hey D
baby?
Holler.
Man, there's so much going on.
Nicole said yes, I saw it. Oh my gosh, Nicole, was that a trip or what?
Did I bring my vape up here?
I didn't see you with your vape. I think it's in your pocket.
I think it's over there by you.
It is? Oh, my battery charger is over here. I would have felt it.
I think I would. Man,
I
hold on.
think it might be downstairs. You may want to go check.
Nah, we gonna do it with vapeless tonight. We're going
Oh,
vapeless.
vapor free.
Vapor free for the
He
UNC.
caught the vapors.
All right, y'all. What's going on, baby? You know what it is.
Okay.
Let's do this correctly. First of all, we're going to do a couple shout outs. Shout out April BB for joining the show today. Shout out Financial Fridays, Best Friday group of ladies. Sorry I missed our meeting today. That was my bad. Had to take care of little Benny, but you know what it is. Shout out Nicole. Shout out Megan. Shout out all the people that post on Mr. Brando Facebook page. Each and every one of your posts is appreciated. Look, in this, you're going to get opposing views. If you're watching someone that's giving you news and you're saying that, just for you to understand it, a lot of this is opinion, and I'm just trying to root it in fact. You know what I'm saying? So don't think like, oh, well, this is gospel. If it didn't happen this way, this is horrible. Things are going to happen the way they happen. However, if they're going by the script that they've written, we're going to peep it out. You know what I'm saying? Hey, bro, I'm live. What's up? All right. So with the, yeah, this is real. Like this is not like some big studio production. We don't have 50 interns sitting in here working the levers and all that stuff. This is real, okay? Let me see what I can shout out here. Shout out Grant, Sammy D, what's going on? Thank you for hitting the like. Darian Jackson, love the last name. Neil Statfield, Alita, good evening. Oh yeah, shout out Bling Empire. Shout out Sands, Lock and Key. Shout out my pet folks. I'm going to introduce them shortly, y'all. We're going to have pet CBDs, pet dog food, everything for your puppy to make your puppy's life, your kitty's life better. Shout out my girl Josie, Aloha and Malaho, Linda, hello, how are you? Grant again, Nicole, and of course our Nicole, that's family right there. Archbishop Davis, good evening, Mr. Brandy. It's Brando, but that's okay. Archbishop Davis in the house. Glad to have our Archbishop. Now, are you the Archbishop of which church? If you could please tell us. Shanta, that's family right there, shouting her out. Nicole, I work law enforcement.
Leader said that she needs that pet link.
Okay, I'm gonna shoot it out to y'all. You know what I mean? I want to take all the money that we make off the pet link. I'm making this public because it is an endorsement deal for Daisy, and I want to donate it to Houston SPCA.
What's that?
You know, the thing where you adopt dogs from, because that's where I got Daisy from. That's where Moy adopted Daisy.
Oh.
So I want to take all the proceeds from the pet donations, and I want to do it to support pets from getting spayed and neutered and getting adoptions. And if it helps them increase their commercial standing, you know what I mean, do
So
more
Daisy
stuff.
came neutered?
Yeah, Daisy came the way we got her. Like, she was all fixed up. They did it took a whole day for them to do all her stuff.
Oh, okay. Look, Daisy, look at that big body on the screen.
Now, Law of Might. Nice to meet you, sir. Good to see you. Josie, DC Big E.
Archbishop said Jesus Christ Ministry Worldwide.
Well, thank you for joining us, Archbishop. You know, I'll try to keep my mouth to a PG, not a R. I will do my best. Linda, I wanted to invest in your noble institution, but I'd spent all that I had extra into the dinar and the nog and the zim. Well, Linda, that's okay. It's all about choices. You got to do, what you got to do. Like, if you think that's a smarter play, do what you do. It's all winners. You're gonna win, right? Just how you win and how long you win is different. So please don't apologize. Danielle Johnson, gang. Man, what's going on, man? I got some funky stuff, man. Stuff that you should have left in the zip because it stinks.
I don't.
My 420 friendly people do.
Oh.
Derek Allen, what's up, bro? You just called me. Archbishop, love it. Alita, Sammy, I have a question. Isn't Vietnam in the WTO and their currency is low? So I was wondering, what's the difference between Iraq joining the WTO and haven't the Vietnam been in the WTO for a minute? Just wondering. Okay, I'll explain why. Because, Sammy, there are two reasons why the Iraq joining the WTO is so vitally important, not only to the currency, but the country. Number one, Vietnam is a part of the WTO and their currency is worthless. That's why they're always under these trade embargoes and differences with other countries. Even though people buy from them, they're also tariffed and there's also things going on to where they don't always have a fair trade balance. That's important. The number two thing is because Iraq's currency, forget everything else. If the currency can't be traded international, you're holding paper that you can only sell back to an exchange center at a greatly reduced price. You see what I'm saying? That's where people says this is a scam. That's where it goes from being a scam to this is absolutely solid. The spread will have to shrink. The currency will be recognized all over the place, and you'll be able to exchange it, trade it, use it for whatever you might need. I'm going to get to ways on how you can use that too that are thinking out of the box. Just talking a little bit, something that Nicole and I were talking about. Oh, Linda. Oh my gosh. She said, no, you don't. I don't. I spent all that I had before I met you guys. I understand, Linda. I'm sorry. Yeah, no problem.
She's retired, she said.
Oh, she's retired? Well, God, that's a blessing. Yeah, Nicole said, keep it in the zip. You know what I'm talking about. Some more of that funky stuff. Okay, y'all? I'm retired on SS. Well, God bless you, sister. Let's hear bombs. Let's get going. Okay, let's get to it.
Let's see, where's the bomb breaker?
The bomb breaker or the bomb bringer? Okay, Friday show headline. This is me having a conversation with a friend over in the sandbox, and I'm just going to read it. It is what it is. This is our comments. People are always asking about boots on ground. Well, this person's actually boots on ground, not bull crapping. I've seen pictures, photos, everything. I know he's there. And I said to him, I'm glad that I think they're going to float with the euro. And I say this because the euro is worth more than $1 and will stay above 92 cents between 116 because that is actually the threshold that the euro is allowed to fluctuate. He said, I do not believe that it would drop below the euro and only go up from there, where you will find a bigger plus difference in the N versus the dollar versus the IQD versus the euro. Just as you see now with the euro versus the dollar. So anybody that's a Forex trader out there understands what we're talking about. We're talking about trading against...
Is this it?
That's one of them there.
Is that the one?
That's not the one I always use.
No, okay.
Just pull it down. Type in explosions.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. The crazy thing is that the value of the IQD could be much, much higher than expected with this pipeline running from, it's called Omaha to Ryan, all the way, Bahrain, Oman, all the way Bahrain through northern Iraq. People will understand because it is going to be settled every day in dinar. those dinars converted into euros, which are certificates of payment and not just regular fiat currency. This gives them all the more pretense to go ahead with Europe as a mate at this point because of the value of the currency going so much further in the long run. Ministry of Finance reveals the position of international community on changing the price of the dollar and promised about it in the 2022 budget. The Ministry of Finance revealed the position of the international community and changing the price of the dollar and promises that in the 2022 budget.
Wrong one.
The international community supported the adjustment of the dollar. Alawi said in a statement, the change in the exchange rate prevented layoffs in thousands of employees, knowing that the change in exchange rate back will help protect the reserves of the central bank and provide job opportunities in the market. Remember this, guys. A weak dinar is only good for short-term capital gains for Iraq. Long-term speaking, what you can open up in trade routes, settlement with Kuwait, what you're going to get back in 3% of your oil per year. Think about all the billions that they're going to get back. It's going to be settled back into the country in dinar, just like we're going to read. There's a little buzzings going on in the community right now. Two things, the WTO, which everybody knows about. But you know what? You knew about that last year. That ain't breaking news. Like, that ain't like I'm smart because I tell you, oh, well, guess what? The final ascension to the WTO. Of course it is. They're about to pay off Kuwait. You have to be international. That's an easy, that's a layup. That's a novice move on my part. I'm going to tell you about it, but I don't want you guys to be like, oh, well, he thinks this is breaking. I don't. I'm saying I knew that a year ago. I told you when I came back, I wanted to come back with things that I knew were going to be pertinent going forward to seeing a reevaluation, a actual valuation to the dinar. That's the point. The reassessment of the value of the dinar will have the opposite effect. Instead of it preventing things from happening, it's going to open up doors to things that will happen so that they will be able to expand trade, open up employment, open up the taxation, open up the cross-border crossings, settlement in dinar on the oil prices. Everything leads back to the dinar, which makes it go out in dinar because that's what they're using their money for. That's the game plan. I'm going to show you the test module in a minute for that, which is right here. New confirmations of communications. Let me look this up live on here, and I'm going to shout somebody out. I had no clue what they asked me this morning when they asked me what they asked me. No cap. I ain't even going to cap on you. My brother right here, his name is Kevin Joseph Cooper. Sorry to use your whole government. But no, that wasn't Kevin. Hold on here. Who was that? Was it Willie? Nah. Paul. Who? It was him. It had to be Kevin. He sent me a thing.
Going back and forth with him?
It was a little bit this morning. He said, bro, what did he say right here? And I told him my Farsi was kind of off, but I did understand one part of it. He said 5 dinar. And come to find out, new confirmation of communications, we do not deal in dollars. The Ministry of Communication that does not deal in US dollars is providing its own services. Now that was what the video was all about. So I understood that they were dealing in dollars. I just didn't know what part of the world, what part of commerce they were talking about. It does not deal in dollars at all, but Iraqi dinars. And this has prompted us to provide purely Iraqi service, which is fiber to home in Iraq dinars. The price calls for, like I told him earlier, a call that lasts only a couple of minutes, 5 dinars. And from a landline to a different province, 10 dinars. And from a landline to a mobile phone, 50 dinars per minute. Now, 50 dinars per minute is kind of a little bit of money, but it's still sub $1. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like they're getting racked up with these huge charges. Iraq is looking forward to ending its file and, of course, the ascension to the WTO. Hit the bomb. We knew that last year. We just didn't know when. Now we know final paperwork's going in as soon as possible. I think more pressing news than that is Iran going to the nuclear table with USA tomorrow and them focusing their attention on something other than Iraq and for them to stop trying to form some joint committee with Turkey, Iran, and Iraq. That would be time better well spent. So good job, U.S. forces, getting Iran back to the table. And yeah, I heard that they could have a nuclear weapon within a month. Now listen, the way Israel's wiping the floor with them day in and day out, it really at this point behooves Iran to get in line. And if it wants to sell its plutonium on the low, it probably could continue so. But If they unleash the full wrath of Israel in a company with Saudi Arabia and Iran, Iran is not going to have a country to run back to. And that will absolve Iraq and absolve the other countries that don't want to be involved in the fight. The economic benefit for Iraq is to be able to pay off Kuwait, its debts in full. Paying Kuwait's debt in full will return 3% of all oil revenues back to Iraq, and that will make them able to overcome the budget deficit and pay its foreign debts after the rise in oil prices and pay the external debts. I don't think people really understand that I've said this and I'm going to say it again. So pardon me while I talk a little ish. If you ain't got, think about this as your house. Iraq is now your house, okay? You don't owe anybody. You don't owe a car note. You don't owe a house note. You don't owe a grocery bill. You don't owe anything. Life insurance, bills, cable, internet. You are sovereign. Don't you think your credit would be A++? Investment grade papers A-.
So they're gonna be at a better grade than the United States.
Yeah, they'll be probably very close to the same, about an A-. Moody's, I'm saying it right now, Moody's an A-. Standard & Poor probably about an A, and the other one an A. You got to understand what that does for your investment, kids. We haven't stressed that enough. Like, I could go all day about talking about the great things about the WTO, which we already know. Yay for us. But let's talk about brass tacks. Brass tacks means that by them not owing anybody, our currency therefore becomes more valuable once we start digitization and ditching the dollar for euro. See, the thing that's different than, I'm going to talk crazy, just not crazy, just off this. Let me talk this through, okay? This is going to sound nuts. Okay, so peep game. You're going to take all the dollars off the street because you're going to starve the streets of the dollars because you're going to start using the dinar for everything, right? Now, when you do that, guess what's going to happen? It's going to give the dinar more monies back inside of its coffers, thus, strengthening its reserves and also getting people to use more cards and more fiat type of methods to pay for things, thus allowing for them to be digitized. Because the digitization at that point will already be inherent because you've already turned your money into a bank, and by henceforth you have the card to pay for something. It will swipe, and then all of a sudden you can have fractional banking. I'm going to tease everybody and say this. What if they've already launched the whole deletions of the 3.0 project as soon as they drop those cards? I'm throwing that out there. That could possibly be true. You want to know why? Because they're not giving them any change back. Therefore, they're not needed to use lower denominations, but only in a computer system. The test market or the beta market was the ration cards, was the new biometric cards. Now that they're seeing it works, they're just trying to figure out a plan how to get more dinars back off the street. Can I talk for a minute? Can we really talk about this for a minute? I mean, I'm really, really honest here. And by therefore them not having any debt, forget the gold reserves. Let's just talk about Western Anbar, where they got all that oil, which they say is damn near double the oil they got right now. Settlement in dollars daily between Jordan, them, Saudi Arabia, and Bahrain. Settlement daily, reinforcing the value of the dinar day after day after day after day. And because they're settling in euro, that euro will never hit the streets. Therefore, it never becomes a problem like the dollar did. Do y'all want to talk a little more? Or should we just stop it right here? I think maybe, how many likes we got up in it? Should we stop, man? I mean, maybe the people's bored out there, man. It's Thanksgiving.
You got likes, you got questions, you got stuff.
Let's do some questions.
Black Friday.
Let's do some questions. Black Friday special. For real, let's do some questions.
Mr. Brando.
Yo.
Is it Yemen government? How do I say it? Yemen, Y-E-M-E-N, Yemen?
Yemen?
Yemen government just jumped on the bandwagon and described Iran's interference in its internal affairs as blatant aggression that undermines efforts to bring peace to the country.
Because the writing's on the wall. You got to think about this, kids. If you got Saudi, Israel, the richest countries in the world banding around this little country, wrapping its arms around it, do you want to be in the little sister circlehood, or do you want to be outside looking in that circlehood? Now, what's the next question?
Okay.
Oh, I did want to read this statement about banks. And I want every one of you guys to, if you're in a major city or a smaller city, why don't you Google how many Islamic banks are inside of your city and those that practice, I'm going to try to see it, RIAP, the method in which they do business without interest. I want every one of you to look at that. If you ain't looked at that, you're missing the boat.
I didn't bring my glasses. What Nicole
I got mine. Nicole, Mr. B, and confirmed that it is one of its sectarian militias and that it has established in Iraq. Well, I mean, I don't remember which part of that we were talking about, but you know what? Hey, that's good news. Okay, let's talk about these banks. The Turkey central bank governor came out in an article today and said that that the central bank governor of Iraq had its official visit with Turkey. The two banks talked and they discussed the importance of joint interaction and the exchange of experience between Turkey and Iraq, stressing Turkey licensed Iraq to develop some banks inside of their market. Now, the central banker goes on to say that in the future, the central bank has worked over the past period to support the economy through banks, and it has helped develop an Iraqi bank. So then I Googled how many Islamic banks, Daisy stop, are there in Houston, Texas. There were over 30. Don't you think you ought to get to know someplace other than your regular bank to do an exchange? Especially because those people are probably more apt to be looking for something like you and I are looking for instead of these Christian commercialized banks. Can I get someone to feel me on this? Thank you, Nicole, for brightening my day with that. Think about this. I'm going to leave you with another bomb before I get to consensus and majorium type of governments. Iraq Drilling Company signed on Friday the partnership contract with a joint submission agreement with Schlumberger International. Schlumberger International. Yeah, they did, right here in Houston. The Director General of the Iraqi Drilling Company, Abdul Karim, said in a statement, the contract includes providing support for the implementation of the drilling and reclamation projects in Turkey, and in a manner for benefits of international companies operating the Iraqi oil fields. He pointed out that the international companies transferred expertise in modern technology to develop the company's employee. So I asked myself, remember a few weeks ago, I just named about 8 or 9 companies that were in Houston, Texas, that were in bed with a little company in Saudi Arabia called Aramco, or what do you call it? Aramco. Saudi Arabia at one point, just a few years back, awarded who? Schlumberger, 2 lump sum contracts for drilling rigs. Oil and gas, those contracts were designed to provide integrated services and deliver wells, which will increase efficiency and levels and improve cost, while maintaining the highest safety. The firm, also owned by Saudi Arabia's industrial and engineering service company known as Tapao, has asked banks to pitch in on their potential share per scale, and said, asking not to be identified as the information because this is private. Saudi Aramco works a deal with Schlumberger, which they got a piece in through another company. That company then says, hey, we're going to do some drilling in Iraq to help you develop all these oil fields because you've got all these untapped resources. However, people have to understand that you think that for some reason now that Iraq is doing business with Saudi, it's perchance? This is not perchance. Everything, all the monies leads back to the same 3 people, either Iraq, Saudi Arabia, or country of origin. That's how you know there's an interpack lotta happening. Go ahead, babe, ask.
No, because you brought up Saudi Arabia.
Right.
It seems like I'm just curious. Do they have a good credit rating?
Yes, they do. Very good.
Because I find it interesting that EV company is going there too.
Yeah, Lucid's going to. Here's a little tip. I like a little company called Lucid. They make beautiful cars. They're opening up a flagship plant inside of Saudi Arabia. That's a freebie. Keep that one.
And if you look up Lucid, they only open in high-end markets. So that's why I asked that question.
Solder, that's a great point. I mean, that's an excellent point. Solder, number of independent. This is what leads me to the majorium and the consensus. Solder's speech was clear regarding the information of a majority government, which he which is his next project. Solder assured the independents that he would not force anyone to do anything they didn't want to. Solder clarified his idea of political consensus, which led to failure and corruption. Understand this. When you guys read in the news, this is really thought provoking when you think about it. When you read in the news that these guys out there like Maliki, Alawi, they want a census government. Oh, we all get along. We're all best friends. Look, I hate to say it, but it kind of comes down to like a little bit of what we see in American politics. One group rules with an iron fist when they have power. One group, when they have power, guess what they do? Oh, we should all work together. We should be best friends. We should blah, blah, blah. No, a majority government's the one that works. Even though a consensus government over the long term, once you have political balance, does fare better. Okay? So let's really understand what Solder's saying. Because just a few years ago, all of them were cool with a consensus government. When the Iran control, when Alawi and them had all those seats. So let's not, put the cart before the horse. I don't want that one. I want this one. I'm only going to read a few excerpts and I'm going to let you guys go because this is a very detailed article and I don't want to, some of you guys are going to get bored by the finer points, but I hope that you guys appreciate it for what it is. We expect that individuals living in democracies to characterized by coalition governments which favor consensus democracies. Those living in countries characterized by single-party executives will favor majority democracies. What does that sound like? People that are fair and they're like, hey, we think everybody should get along and but kumbaya, consensus. The ones that say, no, we won. It's our game now. We're going to play the way that we want. Those are majority companies and countries. And that's what Solder's trying to get these guys to understand. Democracies can be institutionalized in different ways in order to realize the ideal of rule by for the people. That's why if you look at my thumbnail, it's actually an old quote from, God, it's going to make me laugh. It says, 2 wolves are sitting down with a lamb to get ready to order lunch. The 2 wolves represent the political nature. The lamb is sitting there with a 357 under the table, under the watchful eye of the voter. Because wolves can't kill that lamb in a democracy if that lamb has a gun. You see what I'm saying? Under the watchful eye of the voter. That's why Solder is telling all of you, look, I've done the consensus thing all the way back to Nuri al-Maliki's days. Whatever. I'm not even going to try to say it. You know what I'm saying. Maliki's days. And it didn't work. It's been failure after failure after failure. We're going to do this my way. I'm going to put in my guy. My guy has his marching orders. I want to redo the government. I want to give these people jobs that are only in jobs that they can handle, that they are qualified for. I want to revitalize my economy. I want to see our currency on a national level. I want us to be debt free. Do you see why the team that wins needs to make the laws? And that's why I'm not sitting here reporting day after day after day about the election crisis. It's only 6 seats. He's on his way to getting 180 seats. That's elementary Iraqi Dinar to me 101. And if you don't know it, go back 2 years ago and watch a few videos about Parliament to get where I'm getting at. In this instance, you don't want consensus. You want majority rule. If you got the votes, you win. That way it pushes the agenda that you and I are looking forward to happening, actually happening. Without that happening, we go back to square one and it's pity-pat with the daisies and nothing gets done and then it's all kumbaya and let's all blah, blah, blah. Now is the time while Iraq is in a position with a surplus, almost being out of debt. They can either be big boys and big girls, or they're going to be forced to be big boys and big girls, but with an undervalued currency here in a few days. Yeah, in a few days, because I'm already telling you right now, Kuwait's been paid off. Kuwait's been paid off. Kuwait's been paid off. You don't think, and you look at the gas prices, the second largest producer coming out of OPEC, $329 million, hasn't given that back. They're not releasing that to us because they know that as a speculative investment, that's going to put a run on their currency and on their stock market. And that's why they put laws in place that say, Iraqis have to own 50% of a publicly traded company. They did that on purpose. They didn't want foreigners to take over their only commerce that they were going to have to vitalize the private sector. And because they're taking the one thing off the street that everybody wants, which is dollars, settling in euros, and utilizing dinar, it's going to make this even a better, sweeter, easier ride than anything I ever thought of. I hope each and every one of y'all had a bomb Thanksgiving. I hope you were with friends, families, and loved ones. I hope, you know what I'm giving thanks for? I give thanks to my wife. I give thanks to Megan. I give thanks to my friends and family, Nicole, Derek, all of you guys, my mom, my dad. Oh, yeah, and even this little shit right here, Daisy. I give my thanks, and I give my thanks to all of y'all.
Do you want to answer questions?
Yeah, I want to answer some questions. What's the question?
Because I know you don't have
Archbishop, when did the electoral vote come out? It's been out. They've been actually swearing in ministers. People don't know that. They've already been swearing in independent ministers all the time. Vote's been out. Mr. Brando, you can implement projects faster and make progress faster in a majority of government. That's right, because one person's running the ship. The inmates aren't running the asylum. And this needs to happen. Nicole's right. It does. It needs to happen fast. Hey, shout out my boy out there, Paulie. What's going on, brother? Brother Jamal. Nicole, I know that they're cutting off water, but that's why they took it to that council that's over the region for that water to be turned back on. The threat really doesn't really happen until 2050, if I read the article correctly. I feel like Kuwait was not paid off. They wouldn't have nothing to do with Iraq. Of course, they said that. You're not getting any of that money from the conference until you pay us off. And they really wanted to get paid off from revalued dollars. So even if they didn't, they didn't get paid off in revalued dollars. They got paid off in the biggest lie that's been told in the Iraqi community. They got paid off in petrodollars. 3% of their petro account. They didn't get paid in dinars. Another misgivings inside of our environment. Gurkha said, that's throughout the Middle East on the 50%. Very smart guy. That may be. Can we still purchase blocks? No. Blocks are cut off. You can join Noble Institution if you want to join the Noble Institution because you want to really better your financial situation. But we cut block purchases off on the 20th, like we said, to honor what our people said. They wanted a buyback. Now, if you want to start a separate club, I can start a separate club. But I need at least 100 people to join, and the minimum deposits are going to be $1,000 apiece. Because it just won't be worth it. You know what I'm saying? So, no, I'm going to run with the team that believed in me first. I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound rude, but they believed, they put up their money, and shout out to the gang, and shout out to my YouTube gang. It's all about choices. People made theirs, we made ours, right? And there's no love loss. There's no paying for information, none of that shit. This is just straight up. Life is what it is. It's a business decision, right? I'm going to say good evening, give my lovely wife back her phone. Daisy wants to eat some kibbles and her bits. Shout out LISX. Shout out the Iraqi Stock Exchange. Join the European Stock Exchange in a few weeks. Shout out them joining the WTO. Shout out to them paying off their bills. Shout out to debt-free living in 2022. Man, if you ain't excited, even Daisy's excited. Shout out my crew.
Puerto Rico.
Oh, it's Puerto Rico. You know it's Puerto Rico. Catch you guys on the flip side. God bless.